Imagine walking home after a long day, minding your own business, when you're suddenly stopped by a police officer. At first, it seems like a routine encounter, but the tone quickly shifts. In this story, a black man becomes the target of a power-hungry cop with a racist agenda. The officer uses his authority to humiliate and demean the man in front of others, leaving him feeling helpless and small. But life has a way of turning the tables when you least expect it. What begins as an unjust act spirals into something no one could have predicted. As karma steps in, the cop finds himself caught in a situation that reveals his true character in the most unexpected way. Stay tuned as this story unfolds, shining a light on justice, resilience, and the unpredictable twists of fate that can change everything in a single moment. It all started on an ordinary afternoon in a quiet neighborhood. Marcus, a hard-working man known for his kind demeanor, was walking home from his shift at the local hardware store. He carried nothing but a small bag of groceries and a tired smile. That's when Officer Grant, a cop with a reputation for being overly aggressive, pulled up in his patrol car. With a sharp whistle, he ordered Marcus to stop. Confused but compliant, Marcus turned around, unsure of what he'd done wrong. Grant's tone was sharp, his words dripping with unnecessary authority. "Where are you coming from? What's in the bag?" he demanded, without any real reason. A small crowd began to gather, their curiosity piqued. Marcus answered calmly, trying to de-escalate, but Grant wouldn't let up. His accusations grew louder, more humiliating. Little did anyone know, something was brewing in the background that would change everything. Marcus tried to stay calm, even as Officer Grant's voice grew louder and more accusatory. The crowd, now larger, exchanged uneasy glances. Some whispered quietly, while others pulled out their phones, recording the scene. Marcus knew he'd done nothing wrong, but every word he spoke seemed to fuel Grant's determination to paint him as a suspect. One woman in the crowd, an older neighbor who had known Marcus since he was a kid, stepped forward and tried to intervene. "He's just coming home from work," she said firmly, her voice carrying a hint of anger. Grant shot her a glare, warning her to stay out of it. Meanwhile, Marcus's silence and composure only seemed to agitate the officer further. It wasn't about the bag of groceries anymore, it was about control. But as Grant pushed harder, something unexpected was happening. The crowd wasn't just watching, they were planning to act. As Grant continued his verbal assault, his tone dripping with arrogance, Marcus clenched his fists at his sides but kept his cool. He knew reacting would only make things worse. The tension in the air was palpable. People in the crowd murmured in disbelief at what they were witnessing. The phones pointed toward the scene weren't just for recording. They were documenting every word, every action, every injustice. Then, something shifted. A young man near the back of the crowd stepped forward, holding up his phone. "Officer, we're all watching this," he said firmly. "You have no reason to treat him this way." Grant's face flushed, his authority now being questioned in front of everyone. Marcus looked around and realized he wasn't alone anymore. The crowd had turned into a collective voice, standing behind him. But just as it seemed things couldn't escalate further, a call came through on Grant's radio, and his expression changed. The crackle of the radio seemed to freeze the moment. Grant's hand instinctively went to his belt as he listened, his posture stiffening. The voice on the other end was clear. An urgent call reporting a crime nearby. It was something serious, more serious than harassing an innocent man on the sidewalk. The crowd watched as Grant hesitated, his ego battling the reality of the situation. But instead of backing down, he turned his frustration toward Marcus one last time. "Don't think this is over," he spat before storming to his car. The crowd parted as he drove off, but the unease lingered. Marcus exhaled, relieved but still shaken. What no one expected, though, was what came next. One of the people recording stepped forward and said, "Marcus, you're not gonna believe what I caught on camera before all this started." She showed him her phone, and his expression shifted from confusion to shock. Marcus stared at the phone screen, his eyes widening as the video played. The woman had captured something no one else noticed. Before Grant had approached Marcus, he had stopped at his patrol car and stuffed something into his pocket. Zooming in, it was clear. A small bag that didn't belong to Marcus. The crowd murmured in disbelief as the implications sank in. Marcus's calm demeanor turned to determination. "We need to report this," he said, his voice steady but firm. Several people agreed, offering to share their recordings as evidence. Meanwhile, a commotion broke out in the distance. Grant's patrol car was parked hastily near the scene of the earlier crime call. Witnesses reported seeing him act suspiciously, trying to pin the crime on someone else. But this time, karma caught up with him. Backup officers arrived, and when confronted, Grant's actions unraveled under scrutiny. His own bodycam footage, paired with the crowd's recordings, revealed everything. The cop who tried to manipulate the truth was now exposed for the world to see. As Marcus walked away that evening, supported by the people who had stood with him, he couldn't help but smile. Justice had found its way, in a way no one saw coming. The aftermath of the incident rippled through the community. Officer Grant was placed under investigation, and his abuse of power became a viral story. The videos taken by the crowd became undeniable proof, sparking conversations about accountability and the importance of standing up against injustice. Marcus, though shaken by the experience, found strength in the overwhelming support he received. Neighbors, strangers, and even people online rallied behind him, turning his moment of humiliation into a powerful example of resilience and unity. In the days that followed, Marcus returned to his routine, but things weren't the same. People greeted him with smiles, nods, and words of encouragement. He wasn't just the quiet man walking home anymore. He was a symbol of strength and calm in the face of adversity. As for Grant, his downfall served as a reminder. Karma doesn't forget. And sometimes, justice finds its way when people come together and refuse to stay silent.